When my past tried to cage me. When my past tried to
Let's move it to. This is our third city. We call this one Jakesdale. Population 55. So it's literally the same as the last one. Unload up. It's going to have a similar layout, as I keep saying, to all my other colonies. I like to build under the mountain, which is what this one was. Oh, okay, so this looks like one of those big raids like I was talking about. So you can see there's probably 100 pawns in this raid. This one might be a little bit rough. This base was kind of funny because the mountain didn't go all the way across. Typically, the mountain will go from one side of the map to the other. And I build in the mountainous biomes, I guess would probably be the way to put it. I like these ones. Mountain is what it's called. Caves and coast, mountain. I don't like the caves because the bugs. But just these ones that are mountains, they're all over the place. They're the most mountainous ones you can build on because you won't let you build on ones that are like the full mountain. So it's about half mountain. The entire map ends up being about half mountain. After you kind of shrink down the mountains, remove roof until you get to the bulk of the mountain that you can't remove, it ends up being about half the map. We'll just say roughly maybe a little bit less. When you start, it's definitely half the map. Because I've cut in about as far back as you can go, and I've shrunk all the mountains as much as you can. And then you're kind of left with these weird little what have yous left. And those are, again, you can see mushroom farms, power. They're so hot. I forget if these kick out radiation. I know that the not the advanced ones, just the regular ones do. And so that's why I put them in the mountain, away from everything. That way you don't have to worry about it as much affecting your people. Something I typically do is I'll pave over all of the water. As you can see, this one has a couple because I'm trying something a little bit different. But I'll pave over all the water. So you can put moisture pumps down and kind of drain them. Something that I found that works even better is you build the heavy bridge over everything, and then you build soil on top of the heavy bridge. Once you do that, it'll just look like the heavy bridge. It won't show soil. But if you remove the heavy bridge after that point with the removed foundation, it will be dirt underneath once you remove it. So it's just a little bit easier than waiting. It'll be soil underneath. It'll be just regular dirt. It's a lot quicker than building moisture pumps and waiting for all of it to dry up. This way you can just build a couple of layers, bridge, and then you put the bridge. Once the bridge is built, you put the soil on top of that. Once that's built, it'll just look like the bridge. You then just remove foundation, and then once all the bridges are gone, it'll be soil underneath. And then that's it. It's all filled in. So I do leave a couple of the deeper ones because I have fishing on. I have the fishing one. I don't know if it's part of the game or a mod or whatever, but I have my people fish. It's just another way to bring in protein. I slaughter a ton of animals. That's a big part of what I do. So one of the reasons you may ask, well, why'd you build your enclosure, your pen right there? It seems like an odd spot compared to everything else. Be like, well, it's a good thing you asked because that's a dumb question. No, I'm just kidding. So the reason I do this is because there's a body of water here. The animals needed to drink, obviously. And then I'll just build my pen around wherever there's a body of water because it just makes it easier for me. And, I kind of like, even if it wasn't necessarily required, like, oh, your pet animals don't need to drink water. I like to play the game like that. I'm the overseer. I'm the one that's deciding, and this is how I would have done it. That way there would be a natural water source. People wouldn't have to water the animals, that kind of stuff. I always keep the animals straw floors so I don't get the stupid, you know, animal filth inside thing pop up. But I put cloth beds down for them, straw floors. I build it usually wood because I was at the very beginning of the colony's stages, and the first thing I do is always build with wood because I have so much of it around and it's just cheap and easy. All the rest of the stone and stuff, it's all processed stone. And so when I first build the colony, I don't have all of the stone cutter tables set up. I don't have the rock mined. I don't have the free time for people to actually do it. So what I need to do, what I usually do, I guess would be a better way to put it, is I just build everything with wood at the beginning. And then as I get farther and farther in, I switch it out for stone. And like I said, I try to switch it up. So sandstone, and then the floor is also sandstone. Okay, so this one was a really sandstone heavy one. And so I tried to do everything out of sandstone and it failed horribly. Once I started building the wall, I just completely ran out. And so I ended up going back later and adding a bunch of limestone in. Because like I said, there's usually two major rock types whenever you pick a place to stay, whatever you want to call it. And so this one is actually 3. So what I would typically do is find one that's 2, marble and slate. Then I would send the group here to start the colony. I try to be close to a road. Relatively close to a road. You'll notice that all of them are close to roads. So that way, when you start traveling around, you can just do the slow walk to the road, and then they move around really fast. And I do keep at every colony, I will have pack animals of some sort. So usually I'll keep just a couple of things around. It looks like this one I probably slaughtered them all because I got pissed. But I'll throw some alpacas, let's say, because they're pack animals. They're just not very big ones. But I'll have like buffalo or something. That way, that just a couple, just to add to it. I'll also add in a bunch of the predators as well, because as you can see, I got all these panthers and wargs and polar bears and things, and I'll just throw in a handful of them as well, because when I get into fights, they just group up with my people, and then they're just basically the first wave. And so the way that I play is I don't have big tactics on how my army moves or whatever. You'll notice that everybody's equipped and dressed the same. So really the only difference is if you're their brawler, I'll give them a shield and a melee weapon. But basically everybody else gets an assault rifle or a modular assault rifle, or they have they have a different one. I forget what it's called, but it's basically on par. So that's what everybody's equipped with. Sometimes I'll give them just fancy weapons because I pick up a bunch and I think it's funny. So they'll have like a sniper rifle or a pulse rifle or a chain gun or a chain shotgun. But for the most part, I just mass produce all the same equipment and then just have it in the in the different policies what they wear. And really the only policy that I have is that the clothes are above 50%. And then they're allowed to just do whatever they want. I only make a few things. That's why everybody looks exactly the same, because everything's basically built the same. And then they just kind of wear what they can. And I do buy, like I said, Phoenix armor and all that stuff, Locust armor, whatever, I forget what it's called. But it just whoever randomly puts it on gets to wear it. And it's just kind of funny because you'll just come back and some guy will be decked out in thousands of silver worth of advanced tech and armor, and he's just some random guy. I don't know, it's hilarious to me. So I told you I make statues of the colonists, and I put them in the bedrooms. I don't match them up. Oh, this is Levi's statue, so I put it in Levi. I just pick one at random and put them in all of them. Like I said, I'm currently switching out all of the sandstone floors with this lime tile, because I ran out of sandstone while I was building the wall, and I needed to get a bunch quick. So I just, instead of having the whole thing sandstone, I went to the 2-stone thing. Again, why I originally brought it up, just because it's really, it just makes things easier. And it's the same thing with why I pick maps that only have 2 rocks, because it's, you make one the floor and one the wall, and then you just stick to it. Because it doesn't really matter, I suppose. I know that there's some minor difference in how strong the rocks are comparatively. So, marble's stronger than limestone. As an example, I don't know if that's quite the case, but in my mind, it never mattered enough, because I make them all the same 10 deep, that if it's limestone or marble or whatever, it'll just be... it won't matter, because I'm not waiting for them to break through the wall. What I'm waiting for them to do, the reason I have the walls is if they decide to kind of try to come through the wall, I can just intercept them before they can get in and start causing a bunch of trouble for the base. So, like I was saying, everybody's dressed the same, equipped the same. Some of them will have smoke belts or jetpacks. Some of them have a bunch of different innate skills because of whatever race they are. Some of them know breathe fire, and some of them are going to have psychic abilities because of the leader of the colony, or just psychic on their own. I move them as a big homogeneous blob. You'll see as this fight kind of takes place. It's kind of weird that one doesn't have power. I wonder why. If I stress the grid. So I am right teetering on the edge. So I will need to build some more power for this colony. So, I see. It looks like I was struggling with this before. Something probably happened and took out my green energy grid. This is basically supplemental power, just like every strong what have you needs a strong and diverse power grid. I have every kind of power you can have. Okay, so now you're getting some idea of the kind of thing I was referring to. So, there's easily 100, maybe more, that are just going to attack this base. So you can see kind of what I'm working with. Fortunately for me, they are all primitive, so I won't have to deal with too much. But you'll see how something like this will quickly overwhelm the turret system. I'm going to kind of zoom out a little bit because I feel that it might be a little loud. Something that's kind of funny about this one too is, I don't know what mod it is, but they added in like screams and things. I don't even know if it's base game at this point. But it's when they start getting attacked and dying, they start screaming. All right, here we go. Let's try. Okay. I like, this is a new thing that they've added a lot of this bass and, like I said, these screams to it. I must have downloaded some sort of audio pack as part of the mod pack. And so, like I said, basically they're going to come in and they're going to try to run along one wall. For some reason, I'm not sure the reasoning behind it, why it's built that way. So I'm kind of just going to set up on one side. So I'll just equip everybody in the colony. Everybody fights. Even if you're not, even if they're anti-violence or whatever, life on the rim is rough. So if you are incapable of violence, you're still going to be part of that attack, what I end up doing is I just have them run in and pull out people as the fight's going on. So if you're not going to fight, then you're going to start dragging away prisoners or wounded colonists. Usually I don't go for prisoners until after the battle's over. They're kind of advancing slow. This is kind of strange. Usually they're a little bit better about it. So you can see why I kind of have it like this, why I make the entrance so big for the thing. The computer won't recognize it as like a gate or some sort of like impediment. It'll just be an opening. And then so the enemies will go towards the closest opening to get into the base. And you can see this one worked particularly well because they ended up so spaced out for some reason. Usually it's not quite that effective. Kitchen Bob. See, so I could have swore I deactivated all of the robots. Oh, I probably deactivated instead of recalled all. So something that's kind of funny is my base is usually so caught up on like all of the things. And by that I mean there's not a lot of cleaning left. There's not a lot of things that need to be grown or whatever. So the robots are usually the first responders because the cleaning robots will come out because there's all this blood on the ground. And they'll start trying to clean up while the enemy's actively attacking. And then all this damage is being occurred to the walls. You can see the turrets are taking them out. So they will come and try to start rebuilding the turrets. So you can see they've already destroyed one of the turrets. And this was the one that didn't have power, I guess, fortunately enough. When it exploded, it took out what looks like the walls around it, but it didn't damage any of the turrets around it. One of the things, so I have a lot of animals. I have a lot of trainers in my colonies. There's a lot of people like working with animals and doing the training. So my first thing is just animal attack. So it looks like just right here, roughly 20, 30 maybe animals that are pets or trained by colonists. They'll be the first ones to come in and attack. So these animals will rush in. They'll hold the enemy in place because the enemy will attack the animals. And then my people can just sit back and attack them from a safe distance because they're focusing on all the animals. And I do lose a lot of animals, especially because they'll be hit by my own people when they're moving in. So two things. When your colonists are moving, they're a lot more likely to hit things around them that aren't what they're aiming at. So you can see as they're walking, they're a lot more likely to hit the animals than when they're standing still. I mean, I guess it makes sense. It's just easier to aim that way. But you can see how I bottleneck them in here using my base design. I have the rocks to slow them down so they can't, this whole march here. And the corpses actually they slow things down as well. So it looks like what happened was they grabbed one of my colonists with the lasso and pulled him over to where they were. That was that prison. After the battle is over, I'll have something will pop up and it'll say like, oh, unburied colonists or something like that, because they'll be in my deep storage. They'll be in my cold storage, my food storage for the animals. And I'll just grab a Resurrector Mech Serum and I'll just, boom, shoot them up right away. So by the time this fight's over, I won't really have lost any of my colonists. It'll just be, that's kind of it. So this is another one based off of that's the wrong one. So this one is the boy, Junior, JR, modeled after my real life son. It's like I said, when I start a game, I usually have a handful of people. I have myself, my wife, my daughter, a couple of my friends, and then that's usually so there's usually 5 or 6 people that I start with. I start with the Rich Explorer game as like the what do you call it? As the as like my backstory, where I was just a rich trader, and then I got sick of the drugs and orgies, so I took my family and moved out to the Rim to start over, and I like it. And it kind of explains why we start with so much stuff. So really, I don't change much. I just start with all my normal people. And then I want to say I start with a handful of guns. Everybody's equipped with a gun. So that's really the only change I make to the starting rules. But my people are usually pretty well equipped. Okay, so I've lost 2 people in this fight. And I'm not sure how. There must be some sort of friendly fire that's happening here. All right. So one of the things that you do actually have to be very careful of is the turrets. So the reason I have to just kind of clean up when everything's done is I can't just run in and start finishing people off or picking up prisoners to bring back, because the turrets will shoot my own people in the back while they're doing it. So there's basically the entire attack. So you could saw, we'll call it 100, maybe a little bit more enemies. Fortunately, they were pretty low tech, so they didn't have guns and stuff of their own, because that makes it a lot harder. It never fails that they will show up with like a rocket launcher, a doomsday rocket launcher or something stupid. One person will have like grenades. And then the way my people are set up, they'll throw one grenade in and then 6 people will die. And it angers me to no end because it's just like happenstance. All right, so I think that's about it. I'm surprised. So one of the mods or one of the updates made it so the enemy stopped running away. In one of the previous versions, there used to be a lot less. The enemy would get down to about half strength, and then their morale would get broken, and then that would be it. Their morale would get broken, and then the rest of the squads or the rest of the attacking force would just run away. All right, so now we'll come in and we'll clean up. It looks like there's maybe one left that's just hiding around the corner for some reason. We'll have to hit it with the haul all. So kind of a lot of stuff. And it looks like we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, maybe a dozen out of this. So the cost to us wasn't too bad. I'm going to have to res 2. I'm going to have to res. I don't understand how all these people died. Something must have happened. I'm just not sure what happened. So this one will be a little more costly than I usually like. It looks like I lost 4 people on this. And so I'm going to have to resurrect those people, obviously. And so financially it'll be about 40,000 silver, roughly, because that's just about what 4 Resurrector mech serums cost. Use. Like I said, this one's not typical. Usually there's not quite so many enemies. And then even on top of that, there's usually not quite so much death on my side. There just happened to be quite a bit on this one for some reason. And I'm not sure why. Huh. All right. Well, we'll have to let it go. So, we're going to start capturing. Unwavering loyalty makes me so angry. That's a relatively new thing as well. Because it's like, oh, they're only going to be slaves. If it was up to me, I would have no slaves. I would keep them prisoners until they decided to join me. and then we would go from there. It's just, like I said, life's hard on the rim. I can't let them go because they're just going to come back and attack me again. And I personally hate slavers. I would abolish slavery if I could. But so what I do is I just make them my slaves, after all that being said. And I just try to treat them really well. And like I said, everybody gets the same thing. Well, I guess slaves technically don't because they have to share a dormitory. But everybody else gets place to stay, food, room, your own space, all that fun stuff. And all you have to do is prioritize the wellness of the colony and not kill people. And so sometimes I'm not like a harvest them for parts type. Like in real life, no, that's a great idea. Murderers and sex offenders and things, you can just harvest them for parts. And then that way they can give back to a society they've, taken so much from. You would never have to worry about reoffending, that kind of stuff. I could do that here, a lot easier, I guess, but I don't really bother. I do build bionic parts, and I keep a couple on staff or on stock so that I keep them in cold storage, which is freezing cold. That way I can replace body parts and things as needed. So, I keep saying it, life's really hard on the rim. Everybody's damaged in some way, emotionally or mentally or physically. And so I try to keep a good stock of bionics and organs and things, like bionic organs, on stock. So that way I can repair people as needed. And if you just look, I'm sure everybody's got something. So I don't really get rid of scars unless it's on the brain because it affects how people work. But like a bad back, I'll put a bionic spine in. I'll put an eye patch or bionic eyes, nose, everything. Just try to make them as whole as possible. And I try to use good bionics and things like that because it just makes them, better. It makes them, they perform better. Everything they do better because they can manipulate things better, move faster, things like that. And so I kind of try to keep my colonists as good a shape as I can. One of the updates that I don't approve of, or I don't know if it's a mod or exactly, is they make you choose doctors and things to perform the tasks. And so I kind of have my own way of doing it, or at least I did before, where I would make people's skills based off of how good they were. So only the best people would even do surgeries and things to that effect. And it worked out really well. But now I have to basically assign as I go things like, okay, I need a doctor and then two assistants to, get the best, what have you. And it inevitably, I can only do 1 or 2 or 3 surgeries at a time. So typically I'll just see something. Oh, somebody's messed up. And then I'll go through every colonist in that colony and I'll check and see what's wrong with them. And then the first few that I find, I will have them whatever they need. So this one needs a new arm. Boom, bionic arm, assign a doctor, assign an assistant, let it go. And then I'll do that a few times because all my best people will be taken. What I used to do, which I liked a lot better, is they would go to the hospital, they would wait in bed, you would assign them some sort of surgery, and then whenever a good doctor became available, they would perform it. And then I could do 20 at once and not have to worry about it. Where now it just makes the same, you just have to, you can only assign a few at a time. And I don't like to back people up like one person do 6 surgeries in a row because then they're going to flip out. Okay. So I got distracted. One of my people was trying to quit Viper. So you can see my cure for that is to just have whoever's around beat them up. So usually I don't have a big problem with people losing it. This one probably just because there's so much death and violence that just happened, and everybody's injured a little bit, it looks like. Everybody's messed up, so this is an unhappy colony. But typically, you don't run into that. A typical colony will only have a couple of people that are upset or messed up in some way, and they're usually pretty easy to take care of. But they'll do like they'll go like a sociopath. They'll go on a killing spree, or a slaughtering spree, or a jailbreak. And I can't let them do that because typically they'll go after children or sick people, or they'll just let all the prisoners out, and then I have to kill half of them just to put them back in jail. So I will just have whoever's around, just click them all, put them into a, like draft them, and then just have them literally beat the person into submission until they stop being crazy. Because once they get injured like this, they stop being crazy. All right. So now we can see things are starting to kind of lay down and be where they need to be. All of the prisoners have been taken. All of the injured have been taken. It looks like I have a couple colonists still out in the rain. I'm going to hit it with another haul all. Some people have died along the way and need to be, their corpses need to be taken care of. And they've dropped their guns or whatever was in their inventory. All right, so let's just see where we are with this mech serum stuff. This guy's getting high. It's perfect. So let's take him with us. Use. So it's good we had a lot of room. It's also strange that there's some that aren't being taken care of. Is this room not cold enough? Why is there skeletons in here? So it is warmer than I'd like. I probably need more. The problem is this isn't double insulated like I typically do it for some reason. But we'll worry about that one later. All right, we'll let them clean up that mess. We have more power and stuff being built. It's just the problem is, as you can see, I have so many things scheduled to be done that it'll probably be a while. Let's see what kind of... All right. So as you'll see, out of the 100 or so people that attacked, I'll be lucky if I end up with half a dozen by the time they're done. No, not the food, the person. There we go. These people, I swear. And usually I keep a pretty hands-off approach. So you can see we lost quite a few people on that exchange, more than I typically like to see. But it's not too bad. It's like I said, the mech serum is what does it. They're expensive. You can get them off of a couple of things, but the black market trader is the most reliable one, but they are not cheap. They are not cheap at all. So that's the real thing. I don't know how much of this I'll be able to recoup off of this one fight. A dozen colonists, half a dozen colonists. I mean, there's probably not too bad. It might end up being worth it. This point in the game, though, money, like I said, isn't really an issue. This colony's got about $250,000 just in silver. And then it'll have a bunch of other things as well. I try to keep a bunch of everything in stock because you never know who is going to, what kind of merchant's going to come by and what they'll take as payment. because I try not to pay anything when merchants come by. I try to just trade in stuff because I have so much of everything. And it usually works out pretty well. So we just lost somebody. We're going to assume it's one of these. Yep. So there's probably a better way. You can probably have people carry like healing herbs on them, and then whenever there's like a battle, I can have a bunch of medics run up and start start instantly giving them healing in place so they can stabilize them before they move them. Yeah, I could do that. It's true. I mean, I feel like I got a pretty good system set up. I only keep the ones that survive. And when I say survive, I mean they have to live through the battle and everything that comes after. And then I'll train them or recruit them. They can become a full member. Once they become a member, everybody gets a room, tables. I usually put TVs in here too. So I'm probably not at that step yet. I'm probably working on it. So here's one that might matter. Let's see. Okay, maybe not so much. I typically don't bring slaves back. I don't know why. That one's a child. I don't know why I have kinship. Did they attack me with a child? Did they use a child to attack me? And I took them? Or maybe this is just one that's got unwavering loyalty. So because it's a child, I will actually bring him back. But typically I don't bring the slaves back. It's not worth it. Usually they're slaves because they won't join. And I'm not going to keep bringing people back if they refuse to join me. You know what I mean? Because I'm not going to spend 10,000 every time I want to bring a slave back. If you could just join me, you'd be a full member. I'd resurrect you if you died. If you're not even going to bother and you're going to make me do all this extra stuff just to keep you around, no, you can go. He said, I don't want to have to do a lot of the things myself. So I typically try not to. Where did I have one of those stupid trees? So it looks like this attack was actually part of a quest. I think I said that last time. Part of a quest. And that's why there were so many. I'm sure it was something stupid like that. Not too big of a deal. We took it like a champ. All right, let's see. I think that's pretty good. I can't think of anything too special about this one. We could check one more time. Let's see. It makes me wonder if I brought the wrong people back. Okay, left unburied. So there's 2 of them. Okay, that's not so bad. Guess what, kid? All right. I'm not seeing him. How did I lose it? I just did it a bunch of times. Hopefully I did not have somebody pick it up. There it is. All right, JR. Come here, Junior. Nope. Use Resurrector Mix Serum. All right, so let's bring the kids back first. So, colonists left unburied. Let's get these 2 out of the way real quick. Make sure we're good. Couldn't have picked a worse guy, huh? You know what, buddy? I think I got this one backwards. Use. And columns left unburied. Here we go. All right, let's try that. Read more. See, so in the end, out of those hundreds, and it actually, I say this, but the computer itself is what does it. When you get to a certain point, it makes everything harder as far as you're saving your pawns, as far as pawns not dying. The computer, the game itself, wants to limit how many pawns you have in each colony. So the more pawns you have, obviously it scales up the threat that attacks each colony. But even on top of that, it makes it so that you're less likely, people are more likely to die. You're less likely to save people because the computer's just trying to limit the amount of people that you have. So, I mean, realistically, out of this whole ordeal, it looks like I might have gotten one, and yeah, I wasted a Resurrect Your Mech serum on that for sure. So it looks like out of this whole mess, I got 2, and I probably could have got more if I would have resurrected them, but it looks like I only ended up with a couple in the end. Typically, I don't have quite so much stuff kind of built up. I was kind of letting that ride just because I'm going through this, and I'm trying not to like go through and do the things I would normally do, which skipping back and forth between colony and colony like crazy. All right, so we'll let this clean itself up a bit. Everybody on my end should be pretty good. Something that'll help speed things up is I need to reactivate all the robots. Something else I'll need to do, if we can find somebody good enough, is I got to repair the dead ones. So I try to keep up on top of this. I do have a problem, and this is something that's really, I just have never been able to keep up with. Maybe at the beginning when I only had a handful of robots, but when you're at this point, I mean, I have, a ton. I probably have 100 robots across all my colonies. I have these missing parts, and I'm not sure how to fix it. What I used to do is I would just kill them and then rebuild them, but that seemed awfully wasteful. And you can like deactivate them. They'll go back and they'll heal up to 100%. And then once they're at 100%, you can right click on them and have your colonist repair them, if I remember correctly, in some way. But you have to literally put so many of your robots out of commission. And every time I get attacked and unattacked or whatever, I'll do these kind of these things where I will, like haul all, or I'll turn off all, or I'll turn on all, and it kind of messes it up. So it makes it so it's like, it's not, for me anyway, I just got sick of trying to keep up with it. So I started, I just left it. And so now all my robots are like falling apart for some reason. And I'm just so far behind, I don't even want to bother trying to fix them. So I'm assuming it just makes them perform worse than they did before. I haven't really noticed any difference. I guess maybe I have, because if you look, you can see big empty spots in the field and things like that. But, the actual output of the colony, I haven't noticed even a little bit. I go through every so often for slaves. I equip them a little different. I don't know why she has a gun. Usually she will have a spear. There you go. Or bows and arrows. So if I got to give the slaves something so that they can defend themselves. And when they're just in the big homogeneous blob fighting, they can do damage too, instead of just sit there and just be collateral damage. So I usually give them bows and arrows. That way, like I said, they can just do damage from far away. And if they go crazy or rebel, they're not hard to put down because they just have bows and arrows. And all my people have machine guns. So that's a pretty typical thing. All right. So I got into some funny thing here where my people need all these death breaths, but I can't get them to move. So while I have hemoglobin, I don't have any way to give it to them, or I just don't know how. Because let me see, I have it in cold storage somewhere. Right here. So I'm not sure. Pick up hemoglobin. Wait a minute. Pick up hemoglobin. Okay. So let me try something real quick. Okay, he's holding it. Okay, let's see. So again, I just don't understand. I don't know what's needed. Usually you'd think you would just go to add bill and then you would just pick it out of the bill. It would be one of these. You can extract, but that's not what I need. And then you just kind of go from there. But for whatever reason, it just won't let me do it. Or I just don't know how. I mean, realistically, I could look it up, but I'm not quite there yet. Those people piss me off anyway because they're all addicted to drugs. So we'll let this clean itself up. I think most of it's done. Like I said, I have a pretty strong health as far as my work goes. So everybody will just take care of themselves. You can see people are already working on it. Then I got a lot of health robots too, some first aid bots and things. So I'm not too worried. Okay, that was unexpected. The name of my faction is the Fighting Jakes. You can never forget that. I wonder what she had. I probably should have read it. It probably would have been smart. They're detoxing from the alcohol. So I might not even be doing that right. It looks like that's not curing them. They're just getting addicted to that. But we'll see what happens. So let's see. Huge storage bays in this one. I haven't really had to expand storage yet, even though it looks like I'm getting pretty close for my dry storage. But I have all this empty space. Oh, so here it is. I've already had to start doing, this is cold storage. You can tell because it's insulated. But I've already had to start expanding that, and I'll probably have to do more. So I kind of touched on this when I was talking about my last space, but I put dry storage on one side. All the different things as far as production or workbenches go, you would take from dry storage are on one side. And then I put cold storage on the other side. As you can see, I get them as close to the center of the base as I can because you want to maximize your pawn's time. So if you have to go twice as far to do a task, it's going to take twice as long, obviously. And so you put things like all my cold storage stuff, so it's like food, drugs, all that next to the cold storage, so they can make it and then drop it off real quick. The length is really short. Same thing with the hospital. Cold storage holds all the medicine. Because the storage and everything is right in the middle, that's obviously going to be where my slaves and my prisoners are, because if there's an escape or a revolt, I want as many of my people to be around at the time, so just everything's kind of centralized around that. A lot of it I start on the outside because you have to dig all this out before you can get in. So when I find like the edge of the mountain, I'll start right here. This is probably my first set of buildings. It's probably why the pen was so close, and these are all my original stuff. Even my slingers, you can see how close to storage they are. That way when you're filling them, people don't have to go very far to do it. And it's the same kind of setup for everything. There's the throne room. There's the religion room. Always, I usually put them close together just because, like I said, I like clumping everything up. I'll put fine tile in there. This is like a recreation room, hot tub, sauna, pool. I try to put some recreation in with all of the residential suites. That way, everybody's really close to what they need. All right, we'll do my final